Verlander of age, okay? But Verlander's a one-in-a-generation kind of pitcher. Is Charlie Morton that kind of pitcher? And are teams going to be willing to go out when he's 37 years old and invest heavily in a Charlie Morton? He's probably looking at a one-year deal, don't you think? Maybe a 2-year deal at most. But he's 37 years old. You just don't see pitchers, players, sign big contracts at that age. Certainly not long-term ones. And I think Charlie Morton's got to be looking at it as, yeah, I'm doing really well, but I've got to realize my own limitations here, and the age is a factor. It'll be interesting to see how Morton's viewed in the free agent market. It'll be interesting to see how Morton pitches this year for Tampa. He's been nothing but excellent the last 2 or 3 seasons. And so, to me, he is probably the biggest question mark, not for lack of ability, because he's certainly got all the talent in the world. He's put it on the field, and he's shown it. He's shown it. But it's the age factor, and how do teams look at that? So a big year in 2020 from Charlie Morton in a short season could really boost his value heading into the winter. And so with that, dealing with Charlie Morton and his age, yet his excellent pitching, let's start talking about some relievers. How about that? Free agent relievers, and there's so many of these guys. So I tell you what, let's do. Let's break it up, right-handers and then left-handers. Okay, let's start with the right-handed relievers. Let's start with north of the border, Ken Giles. You talk about ups and downs in a career. Came up with the Phillies. He was a hot prospect, right? Went to Houston, couldn't get me out for a while. Now in Toronto last year, he may have been the most effective closer in Major League Baseball. You could argue it. I'm not saying he's my pick, but he was a beast in 2019. Let's look at some of his numbers. A 1.87 ERA, a 14.1 K per nine, and only 2.9 walks per nine. And he's younger, yes, younger than the other free agent options that I'm going to talk about at the top of the right-handed list. There are 4 of them: Giles, Liam Hendriks, Brandon Workman, and Kirby Yates. There's some more setup guys, but as far as closers go, Giles is the youngest, and in 2019, he was the best. Although Liam Hendriks might argue that. Liam Hendriks, 32, began last year as Oakland's, was even the setup guy. He was just in the bullpen, right? He was dropped from fantasy teams and then emerged on fantasy teams. He could also arguably have been the best reliever last year. He also pitched 83 innings. He's 32. Now, I know he's pitching in Oakland, and every pitcher wants to pitch in Oakland. Look at the ballpark. But he's going to be a free agent at 32. This is a huge year for Hendriks. Do it 2 years in a row. You know, of all the positions in Major League Baseball, relief pitcher has the shortest shelf life. Would you not agree? I mean, look back at closers who were dominant just, say, 5 years ago, and look at where they stand today. Take the reliever in Los Angeles. Take the reliever in Chicago. Kenley Jansen, not what he was. You got to agree with that. So, if Hendriks can do it again this year, not a lot of wear and tear on that arm, he could have a big payday this winter. Brandon Workman, I guess by default, he's become the Red Sox closer. He used his curveball more, let's use it that way, in 2019. And he had a 1.88 ERA in 71 2/3 innings. Now, he does walk a lot. There's his problem. 5.7 walks per nine. But he allowed only 1 home run all season, a 51.1% ground ball rate, and a 13.1 K per nine. Workman a free agent. Big year for him. What can he do in Beantown to show he's worthy of free agent dollars? And then there's the right-hander, Kirby Yates. Oh, Kirby Yates. We like to talk about Kirby Yates now, don't we? San Diego closer, but he's going to be 34 years old. How about these numbers, though? Are you ready? 1.19 ERA. 15. That's right. 15 K per nine. 1.9 walk per nine. 47.9 ground ball rate. The numbers go on and on. How about this one? 0.30 home run per 9 innings. He was not just a beast. He was king of the jungle in 2019. And he has a few seasons other than last year to show he is worthy of big-time free agent dollars. He's the odds-on favorite to be the top free agent target among relievers this year. Now, I know Giles is only 30, but Yates has much more of a pedigree. I'm pumping these guys up, okay? So I said earlier Yates could arguably be. I said Giles could arguably be. But if I had to pick one reliever on the free agent market, I'm going to tell you, give me Kirby Yates. Now, there's some other right-handed relievers on the market. These are all setup guys. And 2020 is a huge year for former Yankee great, current Met great, Dellin Betances. He's 33. And we know Betances, prior to injury last year, was incredible. Now, if he bounces back to show he is back at his pre-injury form, look out. He will probably take his $3 million buyout from the Mets and head back to free agency and try to pursue the deal that he wanted or would have had he not gotten hurt last year. Another player coming off injury or a bad year, both, Blake Treinen, 33, with the Dodgers now. We talked about the A's closer a few minutes ago. We were talking about Liam Hendriks. Well, prior to Liam Hendriks, his successor, or predecessor rather, was Blake Treinen. His stuff is incredible. In 2018, he was the man. Last year, tough year. Now he's with the Dodgers. And there's some talk, even on my podcast, that he may well take over for Kenley Jansen, should Jansen struggle as the Dodger closer, but he's got to show he can do it. And if he does it at 33, like he did it in 2018, Treinen could be a huge, huge pickup. A much less expensive pickup. And this guy, the jury's still out on, is Kenyon Kela for Pittsburgh, 28 years old. Kela consistently produces double-digit K per 9 rates. He had a 2.12 ERA in 29 and 2/3 innings last year. Very small sample size, don't you think? He's the clear path to the closer role in Pittsburgh, but it's in Pittsburgh. And do you think free agent to be Kela can produce in such a way that he might be a prize choice in the free agent market? What about that? Here's some more right-handed relievers who are all free agents. Alex Colomé. I love Colomé for the White Sox. 30 saves, 61 innings, 2.80 ERA. But his 2019 K per 9 was down to 8.1 per 9. His 3.4 walk per 9 is high. He's not as exciting as the others. But at 32, he could be a bargain. Wade Davis, not so much. He's going to be 35 years old. He's on the downside of a career. He's got a $15 million mutual option that would convert to a player option if he finishes 30 games. You don't think 2020 shortened season has a big impact on Wade Davis's pocketbook? So the Rockies might be wise to utilize Scott Oberg in the ninth, if they weren't already going to do so, because I can tell you Wade Davis did nothing last year to make the Rockies think, hey, we need to put Wade Davis out there in the ninth inning. 2020 shortened season of all of the players, money-wise, could be most detrimental to Wade Davis because of that mutual option turning into a unilateral option if he were to finish 30 games. Mark Melancon, another free agent, pitched well for the Braves last year, but he's 36 years old. He's at the back end of a huge contract. But she showed last year he's got some gas in the tank. He was tough to take deep last year. He had a 62.1% ground ball rate. He averaged better than a strikeout per inning. 36 years old. Big year for him. The Braves, what are they going to do with their bullpen this year? They go over and get Will Smith, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. They get him from San Francisco. He's now probably the closer, or maybe not, or maybe it's committee, or who knows. And with a shortened season, you can see a lot of usage with a lot of bullpens. Melancon's going to get the opportunity. It's just a matter of what role and how does he perform with the opportunity. David Robertson, still coming back from Tommy John. Likely to hit the open market, a $2 million buyout. $12 million club option. Robertson's been very good for a very long time. He needs to come back this year and show he can pitch like he used to for the New York Yankees. Cishek, Sergio Romo, Joaquin Soria, Fernando Rodney. All four of these guys, not big names. Yeah, and Fernando Rodney's 44 years old. But he keeps landing somewhere. He keeps landing. I don't know. Tell me. And there are other setup options. Pedro Baez for the Dodgers. 3.03 ERA since the start of 2014. Jesse Chavez, who'll be 37. Tyler Clippard, who'll be 36. Chris Davinsky, who'll be 30. Shane Green, 32. Kelvin Herrera, 31. Yoshihisa Hirana. Jeremy Jeffress, Brandon Kinsler, Trevor May, Joaquin Soria. I'm telling you, all these guys, a lot of names on the market, and 2020 not having the revenue. What will owners do with their pocketbooks this winter with these pitchers? And I didn't even mention Brad Peacock, Yasmira Petit, David Phelps, Hector Rendon, Brian Shaw, Pedro Strop. So many right-handed bullpen arms coming up in the free agent market. And then there are the lefties. And I've grouped these. There are two primary closers. One may have already lost his job before the season starts, and that's Sean Doolittle for the world champion. That's right, world champion Washington Nationals. 34-year-old season coming up. 2019, not so much a Doolittle kind of year. He had been among the game's most dominant relievers. Had been. His strikeout rate moved from 16.8% in 2018 to 12.1% last year. His ERA, look at this, it almost tripled. It did triple. It shot up from 1.60 to 4.05. Most of his rough outings took place in August. But now remember, Doolittle had a nagging knee injury last year, and he battled through it. Ultimately, it put him on the injured list. But before that, he was battling it and trying to work through it. He returned late in the year. He gave up 2 earned runs on 6 hits in 8 strikeouts in 10 and a third innings. So he had an ERA of under 2 in the playoffs for the Nats. So it looks like he just had a blip, if you want to call it that. If you're looking from a positive angle for Sean Doolittle, maybe August was a blip. I tell you what, we'll find out, right? We start a season in July. It's imperative, I think, for Sean Doolittle to show he still got it. Brad Hand, Cleveland Indians. left-handed closer.